So, as you can see behind me, I have a tier list. We love tier lists. Everyone loves tier lists. They're classic. Everyone loves them. So these are all the games that I played in 2024 and late 2023. I excluded some that I had played previously, like Stardew Valley. I'm not gonna rank Stardew Valley. Like, we already know what I think is Stardew. So things like that I excluded, and then I also excluded anything that I didn't start this year within that time frame. So yeah, let's get into it. The tiers go S tier, yes tier. These are the best of the best, my favorite games, the games I love the most, the games that I think are perfect, that I just adore. Then we got quite good, would recommend. These are the games I would recommend if you're interested in them, if you're interested in games like them, if you're looking for recommendations to begin with. I have, well, yes. That's just my neutral category. Maybe I didn't feel one way or another about it. We have, could have been better. Not necessarily terrible. I don't think any of the games here were terrible. But, you know, maybe there are some that just didn't click with me, that had a couple of things where I think they could have done something differently to make me like them more, but that doesn't mean they're a bad game, just not for me. And then we have unplayable, like literally unplayable. There are a couple of games on here that will go on that list, and I'll talk about them more when we get there. So, we're starting with Arctico, which I think is a bit of a weird game to start with because I got this game via an itch.io bundle. Said bundle included hundreds of games, and I've actually only even played a couple of them on stream because a lot of them are just niche things. Some of them are pen and paper games that wouldn't work for a stream, obviously. But Arctico was a game about exploring, base building, and you had sled dogs that you could name. It was cute. I'm going to put it in could have been better though, just because the landscape was a little barren because it's the Arctic. The base building could be a little bit awkward. I liked building up the base, but resources were unclear when it came to how to manage them. And I never found myself wanting to play it again after that first time, but I am glad that I played it. We have Assemble with Care, and this was a short game with a cute, concise story about a girl who repairs niche items like old cameras, record players, doorbells, things like that. Typically things that are valuable to people, so every item had a story and a person attached to it. It had an interesting story. I think the gameplay was definitely very linear. It was carried by the story for me. I thought it would be similar to Unpacking or A Little to the Left, and it kind of was, but it also doesn't have much replayability. I loved the art style, I loved the characters, the story was great. I'm gonna put it in, well, yes. I enjoyed it, but it didn't leave too much of an impression on me. We have BOKURA, and this game's interesting because depending on which character you're playing as, you get a totally different perspective of the game. So my side was a forest side with blood and guts and gore, and Shaky's side was more mechanical, so he didn't have to witness the blood and guts and gore that I did. It's all about working together. I thought the gameplay was really fun, and it definitely did leave quite an impression on me. I think it was quite good. I would actually recommend that one. And yeah, jumping off of cliffs and dying was fun. There's a lot of fun to be had, and it's a 2-player game, so if you have a friend and you're looking for games to play with them, I would very much recommend BOKURA. Next, we have Coffee Talk. I loved coming up with voices for this game. I came up with some new ones to add to my collection while playing this. I really liked the story. This game has a lot of replayability. with reshaping the story. I put off playing this game for so long because I didn't think there was actually going to be that much to it. I think this one came with the itch.io bundle as well, the one that contained Arctico, and that's why I finally gave it a try. I'm very glad I did, and I would recommend it. I think it was quite good. And it does have replayability, it does have extra modes where you can just make coffee, and I liked making coffee. And there is another coffee talk game that I want to play at some point. We have the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood up next. So I'm still in the middle of this game. I love how creative you can be with making tarot cards. It's all about making tarot cards. The creativity it allows you is amazing. And the story is so in-depth and the characters are so well developed. It's honestly really hard to rank this, honestly, because obviously I'm still in the middle of it. I'm debating S tier or quite good. I think the writing is so strong in that game. I'm gonna put it in S tier, yes tier. That'll be the first S tier, yes tier. I really, really like that game. It's so unique. It's so unique. It does cover some sensitive topics, so I don't know if I would really recommend it super freely. I would recommend looking into the content warnings, of course. I really, really adore it. Yeah, sometimes it gets heavy, sometimes it gets a little dark, sometimes it gets kind of sad. I really love the creativity it inspires in me. I love the characters, I love the story, I love the writing. I love that things feel like they have consequences, the actions you make, the choices you make. It feels like whenever you do something, it sets events into motion. I try to consider replayability when I recommend games too, because I think that's a very important aspect. The reason Assemble with Care is as low as it is, in the middling category, is because it has 0 replayability. I think it's an enjoyable game, and I'm glad I played it, I'm glad I streamed it, I am glad I bought it, but it has no replayability. And games don't always have to have replayability, but it is something to take into consideration if that is something you value. Cult of the Lamb! I'm also still in the middle of Cult of the Lamb, but I very much love that game. It has been such a fun game to stream. I love building a cult. I love having people join the cult. I love when crazy, bizarre things happen. And the gameplay loop is so fun. Building up your base is so fun. And I think this game has so much replayability. I think I probably will replay it again on stream and we can build up a new, better cult in the future. I'm getting way ahead of myself. And then there's also DLC if you want to continue to support the game. I have run into some glitches with it where I wasn't able to progress through the dungeons, and it's happened a couple of times, which is a little unfortunate. Like a battle of how long I last? I can't actually hit you. I can't hit it. He looks stuck. It looks bugged. Oh, and I guess I'll just die. This game is just a little bit buggy, just a little teeny tiny bit. I can forgive bugs for the most part, but when it comes up multiple times that I've been soft locked, it's not the most fun. Still though, I think I'm still gonna put it in S tier, yes tier, because I love that game. It's such a great game for streaming. It's honestly so fun to play on your own too, and I've just been really enjoying it. So next we have Darkwood, another game I am currently in the middle of. This game is so creepy, so much creepier than I thought it would be. It's a top-down horror game. You go out during the day, you scavenge, you bring back materials to your base, and then you wait out the night. And the night is the scariest thing ever. There's never a time where you feel safe. There's always a time when you're being attacked, when your mind is turning against you. It's the most stressful experience whenever I'm playing it. But then after I'm done playing it, I'm like, wait, I want to play that again. I really like that game. The story, the setting is so fascinating. interesting. There are so many odd characters. No one is normal in that game, which makes a lot of sense because the world itself isn't normal. It's really cool. Whenever you start the game, your world is randomly generated. I'm going to put it in quite good, would recommend. If you get stressed easily, you don't want to be scared, you should still play it. It's a good game. And then we have Death's Door. Oh, I loved Death's Door. Where would I put it though? I feel like I liked all the games I played this year quite a bit, except these two. I'm trying to be harsh. I'm trying to make it so not everything is my favorite. I have a bad habit of making everything my favorite when I make tier lists. I'm like, I love everything. All S tier, yeah. Why am I stressing so much about this? You know that meme where the guy's like, deciding which button to press, and he's sweating and dabbing at the sweat? That's me right now. That's me deciding where to put Death's Door. You know what? I think S tier, sure. I think S tier, yes tier. I want to go back and fetch all the achievements in it, just because I think it would be fun. It made me better at that style of combat. I really liked being a silly little crow, and exploring in that game was super fun. And there were so many cute aspects to it. I just really liked the art style. There were definitely times when I got frustrated, but not that many, because I'm really good at games. So we have departed away. This was such a cool experience because I got gifted the key to the game by the developer, and this is the first game he ever made. I hope he makes more. He's working on updates for it, and he's working on developing more routes, which I would really appreciate because I definitely felt like some girls were more favored than others. I had a Doki Doki Literature Club style to it, so basically it's a visual novel style game, and this high school boy is a little insane, just a little, and you have to choose a club to go to every day. There's a swimming club, a literature club, a music club, an art club, and there are girls connected to each one. And I felt like specifically the one connected to music club didn't have a lot of development. You could not interact with her too much. And she had the coolest design to me. She had like red hair, red eyes. She was cute. I did go back and fetch all the achievements currently available in the game. That means I've seen all the routes, and it's so interesting. I'm gonna put it in quite good, would recommend. If you're looking for something kind of similar to Doki Doki Literature Club, if you want to give a random small indie game a chance, I will say it has been translated, I think from like Turkish? I don't know, I made that up probably, but it has been translated, and the translation isn't perfect. There are instances of poetry in it, and I thought the poetry was really good for being translated. Really good in general, honestly. There were some mini games that were engaging. It was quite good. I quite liked it. Disco Elysium is my favorite game ever. That's it. I love that game. I love that game so much. When I finished that game, I didn't know what to do with myself. I miss the world. I miss the people in it. It was so emotional, but it was so fun. I spent like 80 hours in that game, just going through, clicking on everything. That game has so much replayability to it. You can build your character, the detective that you play as, in different ways. Mine was a bit of an emotional fella, a bit of a himbo, if you will. He was dumb as a brick. The way that they treat skills in that game, for example, logic, conceptualization, physical instrument, hand-eye coordination, stuff like that, they treat them like characters. Voices in the detective you play as's head, and they talk to you. So it's kind of like an RPG style. You roll for the skill to see if you can succeed at a check. Whenever I would make a logic roll, logic would come back to me and be like, I don't know, bud. And I'd be like, yeah, that tracks. But you can make him a smart nerd, you can make him a violent, aggressive brawler, you can try and be a good person, you can go in and be a terrible person. Absolutely terrible. You know, there's range, really. That one was fun to stream because I feel like I have such a wholesome, cozy vibe. That game is not wholesome and cozy. No. Don't even get me started on Kuno. But yeah, it's my favorite game ever. I want to play more of it, but you know, you gotta wait. You gotta leave time in between. So then we have Dordogne. I liked Dordogne a lot. I went back, I grabbed all the achievements. It was super fun to go back through. The achievements were basically collect everything in each chapter. The art style of it was so pretty. It had like this watercolor style. It swapped between present day and 30 years ago when the main character was a child, and it centers around going through her memories. The story was so emotional. I really liked Ronaldo, the friend that she made that summer. I don't want to spoil anything, but he was great. I'm really glad about how that storyline turned out. I'm gonna put it in quite good. Would recommend. I don't think I'm gonna pick it up again now that I've gotten all the achievements. I mean, I might, like way down the line. I loved all the interactive mini games, and you get to make a scrapbook at the end of each chapter with the stickers you collect, and you get to write poems. Honestly, I would very much recommend it. I would highly recommend it. So we have Evan's Remains. I feel like you guys don't know what this game is, but it goes straight into S tier, yes tier. I'm not even gonna think about it. It's like one of my favorite games. It very much impressed me when I played it. Oh my god, that game is so good. It's so amazing. It has this really beautiful pixel art style and these really cool puzzles. You don't know what they are until you get further into the game, and then you realize that they have a meaning to them. They have a purpose. Everything connected so well story-wise, and the characters were so well developed, and it did that thing where it had unlikable characters, which is amazing because I feel like it's so rare. It's so hard to make characters that are unlikable and yet believable, not just over-the-top villains, but characters that are imperfect, make bad choices, that don't do the right thing. That game messed me up for a while because the ending was so dark. I think I definitely cried at the end. And then when I ended that stream, I just kind of like sat at my PC for a while, thinking about the morality behind it. Like, that game is incredible because it makes you think. So next on the list is GRIS. And GRIS is a very emotional game. I loved the art style. The colors are really good. It's so beautiful. It's stunning. The platforming and the puzzles are engaging. The theming of grief is phenomenal. And it's so open-ended that you can kind of come to your own conclusion. And I love open-ended stories, by the way. I know some people don't. I know that's a bit of a polarizing concept, but I love open endings because I love speculating and thinking. I feel like GRIS didn't hit me as hard as it hits a lot of other people. Like, I didn't feel particularly emotional. I appreciated the art of it. I do want to play the game that the developers recently released. It's called Neva, and it looks stunning. I'm debating whether to put it in quite good or well, yes. I feel like well, yes is such a disservice. I feel like people will be mad at me if I put it in well, yes, but I'm gonna put it in well, yes. Just because it didn't hit me that hard personally. Well, yes doesn't mean it's a bad game, it's just a game that I played. Anyway, Hue. So, Hue is a puzzle game based around colors. I played this one in one stream. It was a bit of a mistake. I didn't realize how long the game was gonna be. It was a 7-hour stream. I make good choices, really. But I very much enjoyed it. I thought the puzzles were super fun. I thought they utilized the platforming aspect of it really well. The gimmick is the colors shape the world around you. So you can shift the background. For example, you can shift it to green, and if there are platforms that are also green, or if there are blocks or boxes that are green, they'll be hidden, and you solve puzzles that way. It was super fun. I would recommend it if you're interested in platformers, puzzly type games. It had an interesting story to it. It was kind of crazy. I loved it, by the way. I love crazy stories. So we have Journey, and Journey is a great game. It's an amazing game. The concept is really cool. I don't know if I want to get too deep into explaining because I think it's best to go in blind. I did go back and get all the achievements in the game. I loved it so much, and I would still continue to play it because it's just a really cool experience and it's unique every time. Maybe I'll put it in quite good, would recommend. I think everyone should play it. I think there's a chance that you may not get it, and that's okay, but I still think people should, give it a try. I think it's a really cool experience. It's very unique. So I put, where's the other one? I put the Ace Attorney games separate here because I consider them separate, even though I own the games as a trilogy. So that includes Ace Attorney, Justice for All, and Trials and Tribulations. I haven't played Trials and Tribulations. I've only played the first 2 games. So I didn't want to put in the trilogy because, first of all, I haven't played the entire trilogy. Second of all, because they're technically separate games, it's just that they're packaged together. So the first one is Ace Attorney. I think it's quite good. I don't think it's my favoriteest game in the entire world or anything. It doesn't have much replayability, and unfortunately, I was very chaotic with the way I was saving and the way I was playing the game, so I had to like replay it a couple of times, which gets to be a little grating, but that's not this game's fault. So I think the story with the first Ace Attorney game is really good. I really like Miles Edgeworth, of course I do. And the way that each case connected to each other was very fascinating. I really appreciated what they were going for with it. And that game has a way of making you feel smart when you solve things and really dumb when you're stuck. It's incredible. I think the difficulty of the first Ace Attorney is perfect. It teaches you what you need to know, and then it throws more at you, but it never feels overwhelming until you get to Rise from the Ashes. And that's difficult to quantitate because it wasn't originally part of the Ace Attorney trilogy, or the Ace Attorney game, the first one. It came as a bonus case when it was remade for a later edition. And that case really ramps up the difficulty, and it feels so out of place, and there's so many new concepts thrown in. I really liked Rise from the Ashes. It's a very lengthy case, but I really liked it. I thought the story was really good. It was super compelling. The problem is then when I got to Justice for All after playing Rise from the Ashes, it felt like a bit of a downgrade, but I honestly think Justice for All is a little weaker overall than Ace Attorney. It doesn't have that connectedness in between cases like Ace Attorney did. It does introduce some new cool characters like Von Karma and Pearl, and I really like both of them. But like, I think the cases overall are weaker and less memorable. I just finished up the Big Top case, and I really didn't like how that one concluded. It just felt so forced. So yeah, I just think it's a bit weaker. We have Last Day of June. I don't know if you guys remember this game. If you do, that's strange. Can you guess where I'm gonna put it? I'm gonna put it in unplayable. Unfortunately, I felt like that game had a lot of potential. I was excited to play it, and I thought it would be an emotional story, but the issue was that I literally could not play it. It wasn't a bad game. I was excited about it. It was very pretty, but I do believe it crashed on me. I tried to boot it back up. I got to the same point, and it crashed again. And actually, if you're confused about why this section doesn't have any footage to go along with it like the others, it's because the game crashed again when I tried to open it. So it really just doesn't work at all. I don't know what the problem was. I tried a lot of fixes for it, and eventually I had to give up. And yeah, that was just really disappointing because I wanted to play it. And it wouldn't let me. It's literally unplayable. But that's what the unplayable category is for, games that I just could not play for one reason or another. Luckily, I got that game for free, so it wasn't too much of a loss. We have Mail Time. Mail Time is a super cute game of exploring and delivering mail and other things to residents of the forest. You explore, you collect things, and you commit fraud. And sometimes there are caterpillars that say you deserve prison. It's quite good. We have Mirthwood, which I've only played like 8 hours of. It came out recently. I think that game has so much potential. I want to see what more it has to offer, of course. I just think it's such a cool game. There are so many different aspects to it, like hunting, fishing, jousting. It's got this medieval theme to it. And like I said, I just think it has so much potential. It sparks so much joy. What can I say? We have Misao. And Misao is interesting. It's almost a spin-off of Mad Father, another RPG Maker game, which is better than Misao, by the way. It's not a direct sequel, but it does have a lot of Easter eggs relating to Mad Father, and I think my enjoyment of it was enhanced because I had played Mad Father and because I had gotten the true ending. But Misao on its own, the puzzles unfortunately suffered because the setting that it takes place in is a high school, and you have access to the entire building upon starting the game. With other RPG Maker games, it goes room to room. Once you finish a room and move on, you understand that the next puzzle is within the next area, and it's not necessary to backtrack. Unfortunately, Misao had such a big setting with so many rooms that it was a little overwhelming, and I never knew which areas I didn't need to focus on anymore and which ones I did. So I think the setting kind of weakened it, and then it was like focusing a lot on wacky deaths as well and racking those up, which I think can be fun. The thing that I find the most interesting about it, besides the extra Mad Father lore, is that the protagonists are different. The female protagonist is insane. She's crazy. The male protagonist is a lot more gentle and less willing to be violent, which is super interesting. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in could have been better. I don't think it was a bad game. I actually really enjoyed it, but I definitely had a couple of issues with it that I think could have been improved, personally. So we have Monument Valley. I'm supposed to have the other Monument Valley here too, but we can rank them together because I played Monument Valley, I played Monument Valley 2, I played basically all Monument Valley content, and I really, really loved it. It was such a amazing concept with the optical illusions puzzles, and the art style was so cool, and it's just such a lovely, lovely game, so pretty, and it had a story attached, but it never explicitly told you what that story was. And I just really loved the puzzles. It was so nice getting to play it. Those were such enjoyable streams for me, and I think I would rank both Monument Valley games in quite good, would recommend, because I would. We have Mineko's Night Market, and I'm going to put that in unplayable too. I guess it would be more accurate to say it was unstreamable because I had this weird issue with it where the audio got corrupted and it would make clicking noises in the background. Looks like this tool store is closed today. Oh, okay, so I can literally only go to Bobo's mom's shop. Welcome to the craft store. It's you, the new girl in town, Mineko, I believe. I don't know why I gave her that voice. She seems so adorable, and I'm like, oh, ho, ho. Ho, ho, that's the perfect voice for you. What is that? It must have been some issue with how it was interacting with OBS, because the game on my end was not making that noise. I ran a lot of tests for it, and it only did that when the game was open, even when I had all of the audio in the game muted. Something about the game itself caused issues in OBS and made it so I cannot stream that game. And I had such a blast during that first stream of it, so it was so disappointing to discover that that entire stream had audio issues. I did submit a bug report, but I just feel like it's such a minor issue to the devs that they're not going to fix it for me, and it's just deeply disappointing. I want to stream that game, and I just can't. We have Penko Park, and Penko Park is all about photographing creepy little monsters. It's got similar gameplay to Pokemon Snap, if you're familiar to that. You travel along a set path, a track, if you will, and you take photos along the way. And the more you play, the more different paths will open up to you. You can play music and draw different creatures out. You can go out during different times of day, and that makes more creatures spawn. And I think if you like Pokemon Snap, you'll like this game. Something about it did not click with me. I played it once, Never again. And I don't even have any feedback for it. I think I just may not like these types of games because I also have Pokemon Snap and I didn't play much of that game either, and I don't know what it is about it. I'm gonna put it in, well, yes, just exists. It's just something I played. Maybe I should give it another try. We have Slay the Princess. S tier. Yes tier. It's so good. It's so good. So much replayability to it. So many different pads. So many different things to do. So many different ways to interact with the world around you. It's a fascinating story. The writing is gorgeous. It's a little verbose, I think, which I love. The voice acting is incredible. I don't want to say too much about it because I think it's a great game to go into blind. Like, don't read anything about it. Just get the game if you're the type of person who loves a good story. Also, it recently got a huge update, the Pristine Cut, which added a ton of new voice lines, a couple of new pads, and it expanded on some existing pads as well. It's just a really neat game. We have Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion HD Renovation. So when I played this game, it was during October and I played it with crowd control, which made it a very different experience. And honestly, I didn't really like it. It was fun to stream and it was fun for that, you know, chat interaction. But as a game, I didn't really enjoy it. There were a lot of empty corridors, and obviously the first person 3D made me feel very icky. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in, you know what? I'm considering unplayable, actually. That's a little dramatic, but I'm thinking of those horrible moving walls that genuinely made me feel ill. I don't think I can play it ever again. I think it does have to go into unplayable for that. It was pretty rough. I think I had to end stream early because I wasn't feeling well after the walls attacked. Spring Falls is another game that came in that itch.io bundle that I keep mentioning. It was a puzzly game where you shape the world and you get water to flow. It's a little hard to explain. I quite liked it. I don't really think about it too much, honestly. There were some puzzles that were weirdly difficult, and it didn't have the greatest difficulty curve. It didn't feel like a curve, it felt like a spiky graph. I'm gonna put it in, well, yes. I'm glad I played it, and I got it for very cheap. So, we have Super Mario RPG up next. I really liked this game. It was a weird game. It was so weird. It was a little bizarre. I liked the characters that they picked. It seemed a little out of left field to pick a cupcake cloud thing. Everyone got mad at me for calling the marshmallow guy a cupcake. People took it personal and I don't understand why. He looked like a cupcake. What can I say? And you know what that made me do in response? It made me keep calling him a cupcake. I didn't really care for him, honestly, which, you know, that's my problem. You got to play as Bowser. Luigi was nowhere to be found. He got mentioned in like a note. Actually, he didn't even get mentioned. It was hinted that he wrote a note to his brother, and the note was just left discarded on the ground because Mario cares so much about his little brother, obviously. I'm gonna put it in, well, yes. I really liked what it was going for. It was a unique concept for a Mario game to be like a turn-based RPG game. Some of the puzzles were really bizarre. There was one puzzle where I just could not see my character, and they wanted me to go through a maze, but I could not see my character and I could not tell when I was hitting walls in the maze. So it was literally just jiggling my joystick around and hoping for the best. We have Turnip Boy robs a bank. I thought I'd love this game. I love Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, which was the first game in the series. They went for something completely different with Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. They went for more of a roguelike game. And I don't know, I didn't like it as much as the first game. I didn't hate it, but I got so mad while I was playing it that I didn't finish it. So, I'm going to put it in could have been better just because that final boss fight, it just combines the 4 previous boss fights and makes you do it in one go, and I found that deeply frustrating and vaguely pointless, and it upset me enough that I didn't complete the game. But I will go back to it, I promise. We have The Almost Gone, I played this one pretty recently. It did remind me a lot of Monument Valley. I thought the storyline was in depth. I really like how it was represented through dioramas. It had some dark themes. It was fascinating. The puzzles were challenging, and sometimes I got stuck, and it turned out there was one thing I was missing. I had this issue where I would have the puzzle pretty much solved, except I needed to do one more thing. I got this game for free, and it was such a pleasant surprise. It was impressive. I would recommend it, honestly. I think it's really good if you like puzzles. Then we have Undertale. This was a challenging game to stream because obviously so many people love this game. It's so beloved, it's so popular that people want to talk about it. And people have an idea of how you should play the game. I went for True Pacifist, and I'm very glad that I did. Recently, I've gained a new appreciation for it. I don't think I can ever pick it up again, though. Like, I want to leave those characters as I last saw them, happy, on the surface, free. I appreciated what the game was going for, and I understand why it's a lot of people's favorite game. I think I would have had a bigger appreciation for it if I had played it truly, truly blind. I really liked the characters. My favorite is Papyrus. He's the best. I love him. I think he is, in fact, as he says, the great Papyrus. I love him. I adore him. He's the best character ever. But I feel like otherwise a lot of characters didn't resonate with me. I feel like Toriel's supposed to resonate with you a lot more than she did with me. I liked Flowey. I liked Sans. I've grown an appreciation for Sans for sure. That guy's just straight up depressed. I love that. I mean, it's sad. I feel bad for him. I hope he's happy now that I've left him on the surface free. I don't know. I feel like Sans has been so divorced from the context in which he exists. Like, he's been built up and at the same time reduced to that one genocide fight. And it's a little unfortunate because in my mind, Sans is only who he is when he's connected to Papyrus. Like, you can't have one without the other. I'm gonna put it in well, yes. I know it's a hot take, but I just don't feel super strongly towards it, honestly. We Were Here Forever, the game that I'm currently playing with Goldie. It's a puzzly game, a cooperative game. It relies very heavily on communication. The two players get split up quite often, and the puzzles are split as well. Like, one person will have a rule set for what you're supposed to do, and the other person will have the buttons to press. So player 1 needs to tell player 2 what buttons to press in which order, that sort of thing. The puzzles are super challenging. They're super unique though. I've never seen puzzles quite like them. It does have a bit of an issue with stretching out puzzles. I do think it's fun, and honestly, I don't know where to put it. I don't think I like the game, but I don't think I hate the game. Maybe I'll put it in well, yes. I don't think I would recommend it to people super freely because, again, the puzzles are very difficult. So, we have The Wild at Heart, a game I am currently in the middle of. It's a cutesy Pikmin-style game where you get forest creatures to do your bidding by throwing them at things. And it's all about opening up more of the forest. There are some sensitive topics that are hinted at. I find the game to be very cute. I find the characters to be super unique and fun. Exploring is fun, collecting things is fun, crafting is enjoyable in that game. Everything is super solid. I think I would generally recommend that game if you're looking for something cozy. We have The Witch's House MV, another game I played for Halloween, an RPG Maker style game. I really liked the puzzles in that game. I liked the art style. I liked the story behind it. The story is a little sad, a little disturbing. The ending is just very depressing. But the puzzles themselves, I really liked. I do wish that there was more variance to them because some of the choices you had to make were a little upsetting. Like, I don't really want to spoil anything, but there were some cases where you had to put small creatures in harm's way in order to complete puzzles, and there was no way around it. And I kind of wish there was. Like, I totally think that the more obvious choice should have been putting the poor little creature in harm's way, but I think there should have been a way around it too. It did freak me out at times. It did scare me. Okay, that actually scared me. I was so ready for the teddy bear. I wanted to save. I just wanted to save. Yeah, overall, I really liked it. I thought it was neat. There was a cat that represented your save point, and it said, yo, like all the time. It was so cute. I adored that little thing. Last up, we have Wuthering Waves, a bit of a weird one. It's a gacha game. It's very pretty. It's an open world exploration gacha game. It never really gripped me. At the same time, I was putting in a lot of time. Like, there was one stream I did of it that lasted like 7.5 hours, and that was the day I was like, I can't stream this game anymore. It's just too time consuming, honestly. Too many things to collect, too much to grind. I'm just not really that into gacha games anymore. I had my time with Honkai Star Rail, but I kind of have lost interest in gacha games as a whole. I think Star Rail was my exception, but I am glad I gave Wuthering Waves a try. I didn't really like the story. They're working to improve it. The developers for that game are always listening to player feedback, always doing what they can for the community. It's actually really, really great of them, and I can appreciate that. But definitely on launch, version 1.0/1.1, the voice acting was off. The story was very front-loaded with information that wasn't super necessary. So you had just huge segments of info dumping, and it was so tough to push through. I appreciate what the story was going for, I think, but also I don't know what the story was going for. It's just not a game I want to invest time into. I'm gonna put it into could have been better, especially the version that I played. So hopefully they have made improvements on the game since. So yeah, those are all the games I played in 2024. This is how the tier list shook out. I think I was pretty reasonable. I only put a handful of games into the S tier, yes tier, very favoritist games. I love these games. They really stuck with me. And then we have some games that I thought were good enough to recommend to just about anyone. We had games that I definitely played. Yes, I definitely played these games. They weren't bad games, they just didn't leave too much of an impression on me. We have some games that I had a few issues with. And then we have some games that are borderline unplayable for me for one reason or another. So yeah, I always form a lot of opinions on the things that I consume. I try to be thoughtful when consuming something. I try to think about why I enjoy something or why I don't, because I want to always try to make a fair assessment. And I think I accomplished that today. So thank you for sticking around and listening to me ramble about all the games I played last year, if you stuck around. And hey, if you've seen or played any of the games listed here, I would really, really love to hear what you thought about it maybe. So feel free to let me know, and absolutely have a lovely, wonderful rest of your day.